Hey everybody, it's Dr. Galvin with today's coronavirus update. It's the last day of March, Tuesday, and so what's going on? Well, worldwide we've got 850,000 cases, 41,000 deaths so far. Good news is about 176,000 people worldwide had the virus and have recovered, so that's great news. US, we have 184,000 cases, 3,700 deaths. It was 2,900 yesterday, I think. We've only had about 6,000 people recover in the US so far, but that's better than nothing. Remember, the disease is a relatively long course, so it's going to take some time for people who have it now to be completely better. Here in our neighborhood in North Carolina, we've had 1,500 cases, 8 deaths, and we've done 23,000 tests, which is a horribly small number, unfortunately. I think there's some glimmers of hope out there though. New York City reported today that their day-to-day increase is dropped. So about a week ago, they were seeing about a 58% increase of cases day to day. Now they've implemented these strict isolation things, and we're seeing about a 17% increase day to day, which is significantly less. So what are they doing? They're starting to flatten the curve. We're also seeing some preliminary data come out of Seattle and the Bay Area as well. Remember, the Bay Area was early into this in terms of restricting, isolating people, and I think they started on March 17th or March 15th, very, very early, and they've had significant improvements. The flip side of that is we can't let our guard down. If you've noticed, if you watch the world news at all, there's a few things that are going on that are a little bit puzzling. Some of the Asian countries that initially locked down very tightly, then relaxed restrictions, are starting to increase restrictions again, especially for travel, because they're worried about the second wave of infections. Either people are infected coming from out of their country into their country, or as restrictions are relaxed, people come back together, the virus starts propagating again. So we may well see where we have restrictions for a period of time, we relax them, and then we have to re-implement them. So just be aware that this is a game, and it's probably going to be a long-term game like we've talked about. And this could go on for months to a year or longer, depending on how we deal with the infection and everything else. I'm going to answer a couple questions. I keep getting questions about groceries. Do I need to clean my groceries? What about going to the grocery store? The biggest thing is social distancing. Keep away from other people. Keep that 6 foot of separation. It's very unlikely that the virus is going to live on the packaging that you're going to bring home. Disinfect your cart when you get there. If you have some wipes, maybe disinfect the checkout area. Probably self-checkout is a little bit better than being close to that teller. The other thing is that if you can use some sort of a contactless payment system like Apple Pay or something like that, where you don't actually have to touch anything, that's ideal. Otherwise, use a credit card, I think, as opposed to cash. Those are some little things. I got some questions about kids and, do I need to go to the hospital if my kid gets sick? Well, it's just like adults. If your child has a fever, that is not a reason to run to the hospital. Treat it with Tylenol, with, reasonable care. And as long as they're not having difficulty breathing, or they're not becoming lethargic, or they don't have anything else unusual going on, then I would say you keep those kids home. If you've got a question, you pick up your phone and you call your doctor. I would not rush those kids to the emergency department. Could they have COVID? Yeah, but what do we know about kids? If they get it, it's gonna be really mild, but at high risk of transmitting it to everybody else. So I would treat this just like any other infection with your kid. Be a reasonable parent. If they reasonably seem like they're doing okay, then treat it symptomatically. Pick up the phone. There's lots of hotlines now. I know both hospital systems locally have got hotlines you can call if you're concerned. Obviously, if you're really worried, go to the hospital. But before we get there, treat it symptomatically, do what you need to do, and then, if things get worse, that's the time to go in. I've been asked a couple things about, me being on social media and talking because there are doctors getting fired because they're speaking out again about the lack of PPE that I've talked about many times. I'm not going to stop broadcasting. I have not been attacked. I have not been approached by anybody from my administration or anybody else. I don't think I'm doing anything that's wrong, that I don't have a responsibility as a physician to do. My feeling is that you need to know these things. You need to be told that what's going on, and you need to be given some reasonable advice about what to do and what not to do. And it shouldn't come through the political lens that, depending on what network you're watching, it shouldn't be about getting ratings, like being totally hysterical. I'm trying to provide a reasonable, viewpoint of what's going on, colored by the fact I've been an emergency physician for 25 years. So if anybody's wondering about that, I have not been asked to stop broadcasting, and if I asked, I won't stop. One last thing, in terms of counting our blessings and happiness, we may have isolation, we may be all out of work at the moment, our economy may be flailing, but at least we're not like the town in Wales that has been invaded by wild goats because everybody is self-quarantining. So you gotta look, when you're given lemons, make lemonade. Don't panic, we're gonna be fine. Take care of yourselves, take care of your families, take care of everybody else, wash your hands, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Oh yes, and we are gonna be doing the wellness videos. If you've got ideas, I know stress and dealing with isolation is gonna be high on the list. We're gonna talk about nutrition, we're gonna talk about sleep, we're gonna talk about fitness, and we're gonna give you guys some options for some guided fitness and other things. My mind is working on it. We will come up with some cool stuff to get our minds off of all this nonsense. Stay safe.